What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. This is TWA Motorsports, and no, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this up. Like probably about a month ago, it's been a month. My son calls me and he drives this thing up and down the road and he says, "Hey Dad, the wheel fell off." Well, I don't know if you guys have watched these videos in the past on this thing, but there was a point when we first got it that the wheel fell off in the back, and it was just because the lug nuts weren't tight. Well, this time the spindle breaks. And I've not been a huge fan of this lift. It's not a drop. I drop everything. I'm not used to saying this, but this lift kit, I've not been a huge fan of this from get-go. And the spindle just broke clean off. And it's nothing that he did. He was on the road. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt. But today, I'm going to make him help me fix it. So we're going to drive this thing. I drove this home about 2 miles, leaning off of one side. So if I lean on this side like this and hold on, I can barely hit the gas and drive it. So that is what I did. I literally drove it home like that. I was so sore the next day from doing it at like a 1 mile an hour. Of course, all my neighbors were outside, got a good look at it, and they got a kick out of that. But today we are going to fix it. So I'm going to move this thing up front, and I'm going to have him do it. So for the most part, it's going to be him and me just guiding him on what he needs to do. I think he needs to learn how to fix stuff, and if you break it, you fix it, right? So let's get this thing up top and see what we can get dug into. Okay, it's like the windiest day of the year, but we got it up top here, and you care to tell the fine viewers what you did?
Broke the wheel off.
He broke the wheel off. That's what he says. He broke, and it wasn't his fault. Most of the time, he knew. He was a little shaken up, I think, but it wasn't his fault. This legitimately just straight broke off. You can see it is a clean break right here. And so we're gonna go grab the other part. The company did stand up, and guys, sorry, it is really windy. But the company did stand behind it and said, "Hey, we'll send you another one." So we just need to unhook all this stuff. And like I said, I'm going to have him do it. So I'm just going to guide him through the process. There's one other thing I want to fix though, and then maybe we'll clean this thing up. But there's a piece of rubber that's supposed to go down here. You can see where the metal's rubbing. I think I'm going to try to replace that today as well. I got that piece. And so maybe we'll get to that also. But anyway, we need to start with, I'm probably going to have him lift this up a little bit, go grab one of the jacks in there. We'll jack it up and see if we can get this old spindle out of the way. The good news is there's not a ton to take apart. It would have been nice if it were the other side, but Cohen, grab these cotter keys out. You're going to have to bend that around and take those out first. And once we get those out, we'll loosen that up and see if we can knock them loose. So we got part of it taken apart here. Put the nut back on there. These weren't really tight, so it could have been part of our problem. These guys though are Loctited, so I am helping him with this part. You can go ahead and use the ratchet and take that the rest of the way out. Actually, you know what? Let's not, because I'm going to need, it may move when we try to do the bottom one. We had to Loctite these in, so we'll get this loosened up and then we'll start taking more apart. Yeah, take it, unthread that all the way out and then go to the top. It'll probably be stuck in there. It's a tight fit, it's an oddball size. It's long. Probably should use some air tools. So we got the old one off. All we got to do is pop the new one on. There's going to be a little more involved though on this guy because it actually broke. So I got to get the old stuff apart, the old bearing. It's an old school inner and outer bearing. We'll have to listen to it and see if it's making any noise. But for now, I'm going to have him go ahead and put the new one off, or new one on, since he's got the old broken one off. So he's got the new one on and he's starting to thread them back together. And I, on the other side here, got this off the wheel. This was still obviously stuck to the wheel, so we need to get the dust cap off and get the old bearing out, which hopefully I can get that off. It's generally not very tight, so hopefully I can get it off without having anything to grab onto. So we got the new arm on, or the new spindle, and so we were taking these bearings apart, and honestly I think I'm just going to replace them. So I've bagged them up with the races, and we're going to take them to a local parts store and see if we can get some. Honestly, one of the rear race looked like it had some wear on it, so maybe that was the cause of the issue. It looked like it broke a little behind that, but maybe there was some heat involved. I don't anyway, we're gonna go grab some parts and see if we can put this thing back together. He's already got all this hooked up here, and we haven't tightened it up yet, but at least it's hooked up at this point. So I got even more help out here now, and the wind is just making this terrible. But I went and found new bearings, and which I didn't really want to have to do, but I thought it's probably a good idea. The problem is the seal. I had trouble finding a seal. I had to go to a couple different places, but I've got a seal. We're going to see if we can put this thing back together at this point and get it all snugged down. So unfortunately we couldn't finish it yesterday, so here I am by myself. My son's in school now, and I couldn't get this seal. And so we got a couple things going wrong. Is like I couldn't get this crossed with anything. I actually had to go to a golf cart place and get that. Luckily they had it in stock. So the other thing is it's ridiculously windy. It's even more windy than it was yesterday. But I'm going to go ahead, grease up these bearings, and get this thing back into place. Unfortunately, my son isn't here to help me finish, but he got a majority of that stuff tightened up yesterday. We still have to put the cotter keys in, or cotter pins, whatever you want to call them. And then maybe we'll work on under the seat. It just depends on how this wind is just nuts, guys. So anyway, I'm going to get these bearings packed, and put the actual hub back in place. So I got everything locked back down and took it down the road, and you can see I need to make some alignment adjustments. I need to bring the camber in just a little bit. So the only two ways you have to adjust that, and it's really by eye, are these guys here. So you can loosen these up and thread them in a little further. I threaded it out because I think this was getting ready to break for a while, and so this wheel was kind of setting weird, and you can see the wear on the tire. It's completely different. So I think this is something that's been going on for a little bit now. I think that was probably weak, and anyway, I'm going to adjust that out, and then we'll move on to under the seat. So I actually I put it up on the jack and felt this wheel, and it had some play in it too. So I went ahead, took it off, and tightened it up as well. But anyway, I want to move on to this part. And so this has been gone or missing ever since I bought this thing. And oh my gosh, the wind keeps picking up. This goes like on that little part of metal that sticks out there and gives you a comfortable ride. Now, here's the problem with that. When you lift these things, the motor tilts up, and a lot of times you'll overfill your oil if this isn't sitting where it is, where it needs to be. So really what I need to do is I need to make a plate to let the actual cradle that holds the engine go down. So I need to lengthen it a little before I put this in, because you can imagine if I put this in, even though it's going to squish down, it's not going to be where it needs to be. So I'm going to put a jack under this thing, and I'm going to take these two bolts out, and we're going to make us a plate to remount this. So as you can see, I got this plate out, and it bolts, like I said, to the front of the actual cradle that holds the engine. So I got those two, they're 1/2-inch bolts, got that out. So what I need to do is I need to make this come up further. That way the engine can go back down, and it's basically in its stock location. So I'm gonna go get some spare metal. We're gonna trace this out and see if we can make a plate. So I let the jack down a little bit, and I put my piece together, and you can see I don't need to make a really long piece, maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches possibly, in order to get this thing to line up and be where it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece out. I've got some extra stock over here. I don't even know what this came with. Just I keep extra metal laying around, but pretty thick enough to do what this needs to do. So I'm going to measure this off and get it marked out for some holes, and just cut it out with a cutoff wheel on my DeWalt grinder. So at this point, this is what we've got. I just need to drill 4 holes, and then we're ready to bolt this thing on. So this is what we're finished up with. I mean, it doesn't look perfect, but it is definitely going to work for what we need to do. So all I need to do, I already got bolts. I've got a nuts and bolts bin that I use to get some lock washers and washers out of. But now I'm just going to slide this thing back in there, and then we'll put that rubber stopper in place, and that should quiet this thing down, make it ride a little nicer. So guys, we took it down the road. Still got a little bit of alignment to work on, but I did scrub it down because it needed a good scrub down. I will tell you that it seems to track a little straighter, and I feel better about it now. And also this thing down here, I need to scrub under here for sure, but it rides so much quieter with that thing in place. And then with it being relocated, I did have a little bit too much oil in, so I did suck a little bit of the oil out. That might be something you guys want to check into if you have lifted a golf cart. Like I said, it kind of tilts the motor and puts it at a weird angle. So I'll list that rubber bumper down below if you guys want to get one of those. Chances chances are yours is probably all worn out unless it's pretty new. The other thing is, obviously, you know, you're gonna have to make your own little plate. Mine ended up being like probably about 4 inches long, and I could drill a little more. I guess I could have drilled a little closer to the top, but I want it to be really sturdy. Wanted to make sure it didn't come off. But just a day in the life of TWA Motorsports. Normally I'm working on hot rods, or at least I like to be, and I don't have any of them out here. They're actually in my shop, which we will get to in a coming video. But let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I wanted to start this thing out. I wanted my son to actually fix this, and well, you know, school and parts, and it just didn't work out. So he got to do a little bit of the wrenching, which is good for him. Anytime something breaks, and I know it wasn't his fault, but I like to give him some, maybe one of these days he'll work on his own stuff. Maybe not to the depth that I do, but at least be able to like change his own oil and fix things that go wrong. I want to give him that experience as he goes along. But if you guys did like this video, like always, please smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are not subscribed, guys, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell icon that notifies you every time we drop a new video, and stay tuned because I promise you there's some exciting things coming.